If you win partially, you get partially your feedback. You win completely, you get your.
Okay, so if you file an appeal for free and you lose, do you pay?
Well, you have to currently you have to pay to get your appeal. And then if you win, you get your money back. And if you lose, you don't get your money back.
Yeah, but my question is, maybe it's appropriate to staff, if you, right now, we collect the fee in advance, but in this process, and that's to discourage people from filing an appeal that's been reviewed already, but if you file an appeal and you do it for free, if you lose your case on appeal, do you pay the cost, the $2,000 that the city has to advance for those appeal?
Maybe, and I might be misunderstanding the question. Right now, what we require is that if you appeal, you've got to pay up front. And then if you win your appeal, you get your money back. If you don't, we keep what
That's
you
right.
paid for your appeal.
But my question is really, if right now, let's say we reduce it to zero as proposed. If you lose your case, do you pay those appeal costs?
I think what's being proposed is that we just eliminate all fees associated with appeals.
Yeah.
Well, but you still pay what your original fine would have been, whatever the infraction would have been, right? You have to pay that.
Well, no, if you win your appeal, we would.
Oh, if you win, right, if you win your appeal, right. If you lose your appeal, you pay whatever.
I think what the question
You would have
is,
to pay your administrative fine.
if you get an administrative fine of $1,000, do you have to pay the $1,000 in order to appeal? Isn't that
Oh, I
what
see
your
what you're
question
saying.
was?
Yeah, I would imagine, so what you're asking is if you were given an administrative citation for $1,000, in order to be
Eligible to
eligible
appeal.
to appeal, would you have to pay that $1,000? I don't know that there's I think we'd need direction from the council on that.
This
I
or-
don't-
this-
Maybe Mr. Otamian knows.
Yeah, I don't believe that this ordinance addresses that issue at all.
Yeah,
This is
that's-
just simply the fee for filing an appeal. If you have a fine or something that is imposed,
That's separate.
that's not suspended pending your
Right,
appeal.
you still pay that. Right.
Is that right?
Adam, can you provide clarity?
Yes. So currently, somebody does not have to pay the cost of the fine to make an appeal. They need to pay the appeal fee. If they lose their appeal, then they would lose the fee and they would have to pay the fine at that point.
Okay. And
So,
if there's,
so technically, you suspend the fine until the appeal's completed.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
That answers
okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, that was, I think, the point was, where Rick was sort of getting at, is like, you have to put all this money up, including the fee ahead of time. Okay.
I would make a motion that we,
I
I'm sorry, let's
I
more
have
questions.
questions of Adam Steele. I just want to get staff's view on this and the number of cases and whether your view of whether the system's working the way it is right now, or whether it's onerous or from a staff perspective.
Well, in about 2016, well, I should say 2014, 2015, 2016, city staff started to see an uptick in appeals. And a lot of those were for $100 citations that generally were rather frivolous. And so the city initiated an appeal fee, which has been revised previously. Those fees helped to cut down on those types of appeals where people basically just wanted somebody else to look at the facts of the case, even though it's incredibly clear that it's a black and white issue. The violation is there's just no way that they would win that type of appeal. What I generally tell people is city staff does not want to enter into appeals. If somebody does appeal, we'll generally try to work with them outside of an appeal process to find some mutual resolution. It's even with an appeal fee, some of these appeals take thousands and thousands of dollars of staff time to put together the hearing documents that are necessary to put this in front of an administrative hearing officer. So our recommendation would be to keep a fee. The $500 currently tends to work. again, you get that money back if you are successful. In the 7 years that I've been dealing with appeals, we have won all but one. The vast majority of the time that we get to appeal hearings, our case is solid, and it's and the appellant is very unlikely to win their case. And that's part of that is because we generally work very hard to find some alternate resolution that works for everybody, whether it's an extended period for somebody to correct the issue, whether it's supervisory staff taking a look at the particular issue that was cited for, and brainstorming some other ideas. Not a lot of cases need to get to an appeal. The ones that tend to do are people that just don't want to correct the violation that has been
Let me
identified.
follow up then. What do you think's going to happen if we make the appeals free? Do you think the percentage of people that appeal is going to be higher? And what do you expect those costs to be to the city?
So yes, I would anticipate a lot more appeals being filed. We get a number of questions about it, so we know how many people would be interested in going that route. I apologize, there was a second part here.
Well, I think it was,
What would be the cost to the city?
Cost, yes, thank you. That varies greatly. I would say
time
that
and-
the cheapest appeal that we have ever been able to host was, I want to say, $750. The administrative hearing officer's time is at least $450 per hearing. Staff time, depending on the complexity of the issue, could easily get into $2,000 to $4,000 worth of time to prepare, hold, and deal with the actual the appeal issues.
And so I would expect that, why wouldn't you appeal? Everybody, if it doesn't cost you anything and it costs the city $5,000, it's going to be a very expensive proposition. I think reading the background materials, that's why we went to this system, to at least encourage people to think about what they're doing before they appeal, and have something at risk in that whole process. And here, we're not even putting the cost of the appeal on them if they lose. And so I think at the very least, if we were going to do a free appeal, if they lost their appeal, they would pay the cost of the appeal. That seems to be make more sense. At least they'd have some incentive or buy-in in this process.
To put the matter in perspective, to say if we went to no appeal fee, we're going to have a lot of appeals. I don't think that's the case. Historically, for almost 100 years, about 90 years, this city had a zero fee for anyone that had a legitimate grievance. They could file an appeal. Zero cost. It was mentioned 2014-15, there were a number of appeals. There were a number of appeals. I'm familiar with the appeals. The appeals were by the outlets who filed an appeal over every one of their temporary signs, and there were several dozen of them. Resulted in a lawsuit. The city finally settled the lawsuit and gave everything that the applicant had asked for, because quite frankly, legally, they were entitled to it. And as a result of that flurry of permits, this council did in my opinion, a retaliatory ordinance, which said we're going to make anyone that appeals one of our decisions, make them pay for everything. The staff time, the lawyers, the overhead, the consultants. It was very comprehensive, which would cost anyone that appealed anything potentially thousands of dollars just to file an appeal. This council considered it, a prior council. Chris and I were on the council at the time, and at that time, the response was, well, we'll just, instead of having this open-ended, unlimited amount of deposit, we'll reduce it to $500. That $500 was kind of arbitrary. It was a number that, at the time, the majority of the council liked that number. The reason why I suggested we even discuss it is because as a philosophical point, people ought to have the ability to file an appeal if they disagree. And, the cost of governance, there is a cost. There's a cost of all of us being here. But I don't think someone that has a legitimate cost should have to fork up $500. I use the example of a speeding ticket. You get a speeding ticket, you got to pay the judge $500 just to stand in front of him in court. I don't think that's right. That's why I suggested it. And my motion, unless there are additional questions.
Well, I'm wondering, maybe there's a way we can split the difference on this. Instead of going all the way down to 100 or keeping 500, maybe we can find a compromise of 250.
Splitting the
there.
baby, yeah. I can't support that. And the reason why is because we split the baby before from unlimited fees to $500. There's no logic to split, to cut the baby. The baby either belongs to the right mother or the wrong mother. The baby doesn't need to be cut in half. As a philosophical matter, I'm opposed to requiring our citizens to have to pay blood money to stand before us with legitimate beef. So my motion, unless there's
Go ahead, yeah, I was gonna
unless there's other discussion, is that we simply eliminate the fee for filing administrative appeals in our ordinance.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Let's go to a vote. Councilmember Enmeyer.
I'm a no.
Councilmember Leffler.
Aye.
Councilmember Cabral.
No.
Aye.
And I'm a no. So that ends that. The motion is defeated 3-2 with, let's see.
You don't remember what
It
happened?
was Leffler was an
Wait, are
aye,
you-
Mayor Pro Tem was
are
an
you able to
aye,
make a vote
and everyone
and
else
not
was a no.
remember?
Yeah.
3-2, yeah.
But we don't have that many split votes.
Okay.
All right, on to the fun.
Oral communications, part 2, we have one speaker card. Tony Rubolino.
The flag check.
Howdy. So you'll notice that I'm wearing a weighted exercise vest, and this is what sparked a lockdown at Vista Del Mar Elementary. It was an innocent husband and father, one of your constituents. He's a member of the community, and he was simply going on about his exercise regimen, walking along Avenida Talega, just as he has for multiple times a week, along the same route, same time, and for over the past 4 years. So let's go through a timeline of events here. I'd like to walk you through really quick. First, we have an email that 8:45 a.m. there was a lockdown initiated at Vista Del Mar Elementary. Next slide. And then by 9 a.m., we had already been informed by the principal Folkart through an email that there was no safety concern, no threat. So 15 minutes had passed before we realized what had happened, and then there was just the rest of the measures to try and mitigate some of the incident. Next slide. Then we got a email from Capo Unified and said that was at 9:05 a.m. There was a man with a weighted vest. He was walking down the street near campus, near the steps, not on the steps, never came on campus. Next slide. And after, between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m., this is Chris's wife, Haley, and she had done an Instagram story where she had talked about report of an active shooter or someone with a gun wearing a bulletproof vest at the school. I'm not sure if there was an actual report or if this is rumor or hearsay. Next slide. Then we get an email at 2:05 p.m. from Principal Folkart saying there was a man wearing a weighted vest near the steps in front of the school. I think he meant to say on the east side of the school. And that this was a traumatic experience for students and that counselors would be available. Next slide. Chris makes a post on social media almost 10 hours later. And in it, he documents that there was a report of a suspicious man wearing an armored vest on campus, and that students feared being shot at school. And then he went on and deviated to how gun violence affects us all, and that this is a platform to take action to reduce easy access to assault weapons, and weapons of war are often in the wrong hands. How did we get here, Chris? Could you connect the dots for me, how we got to a man wearing a weighted vest to suddenly advocating for anti-gun control? Next slide, Haley makes another post the next day, and she basically is addressing the backlash, saying if the sky was blue, Chris would be assaulted, and is handling. The issue was, Chris, that you advocated for, you politicized and propagandized the trauma that our students, and I just won't be having any of it. I'm not going to allow you to use my students, my kids, as part of your failing assembly campaign. You owe the
Thank
community
you very
an
much.
apology.
Appreciate the
Thank you.
presentation. Any other comments?
No additional
All right.
comments
Future agenda
for
items.
agenda items.
I've got a couple of quick things, hopefully quick.
Okay.
And this goes back to oral communications, and I'd like to see the climate action plan actually brought up to date. A lot of good comments were made, and I did a little research, and it seems that there is some money out there. Things like we're talking about doing the trolley, all year round. We might be able to get some help doing that, some funds. Also about some solar possibilities of getting some free solar put in with some EV stations and whatever. These are all things that we have to have a current climate action plan to even put in for those things. Talking to some staff people, I don't think it's going to be a huge effort to update it. We're not starting from scratch. We're just updating some information on it. So with that, I'd like to see.
I would second that, and I would only say that Donna, I had the opportunity to meet with Donna Vadrine, who filled me in on her efforts and other people in the community and what they're doing, and outlined for me the plan that was previously drafted, and also met with the city about what was going on. It looks like a plan that could be easily modified, updated, and particularly since it includes money that we might be able to get, I think it's a good thing.
Would you accept did you second that? Okay, would you accept a friendly amendment to address some of the things we heard today, just, and just bring that for discussion as part of the updating of the climate action plan, like something to do with single-use plastics and/or community choice energy?
Sure. I mean,
I think it's broad, I think the action plan itself is broad enough, but
Just to make sure that those get addressed?
sure,
Okay.
I don't have any problem with that.
All right, then with that, we have a motion, Leffler,
It's just a staff report, so you need three, or what?
or actually, no, it's not a motion, it's just support, yeah, so I'm a supporter, anybody else? Okay, so we have four for support.
okay. And the quick one, I met with one of our residents today, and she's, moms demand action for gun safety. By the way, this is not about gun control, so before everybody freaks out. But there's a long list of cities that have entered into this support for a possible penal code change about storing guns safely in your house, and it talks about specific things, they'll lock container and whatever, but it also does not preclude you from a firearms stored or kept on premises owned by the owner under control. It's not something that makes you lock up every gun in your house. It's just, it's for storage of guns. And I'd like to bring that back to council with some further information about, it's just a possible letter of support in this area.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I'll get
support
behind
that. Yep.
I have another one that wouldn't be going to staff, but would be going to public safety, and it's not my idea, it's something that was brought to me by another city council as I was looking, met with several people downtown concerned about the e-bikes going down Del Mar at high speed and what we do about
Was one of them
e-bike-
my son?
about e-bike safety. I mean, three different businesses said they have bikes going down at, they're surprised that people out of the restaurant haven't been hit yet, but I think we need to at least send this over to public safety so they can start looking. This is
Was it on the sidewalk then, or just?
on the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk,
Yeah, on the
right.
sidewalk, yeah. But it could be others. I don't think at a staff level we're ready yet, but it might be something that could be undertaken by the public safety to start looking at, do we regulate? It's not a particular recommendation, but they have they're looking at licensure and other use regulations, and I think it's something we should at least
I agree,
talk
and
about.
I believe Laguna Niguel has something, so
There's
maybe
a
they
bunch
can,
of cities that are starting to look
they
at
can take a
this.
look at the models and.
I believe there's also some state effort on that, on regulating it as well, but.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that-
vehicle code, they're looking at possible age limits on it now.
We could call our sheriff up and he'll have the answers
No.
for us.
I think we're good. It's too late in the evening for that long walk. But I think the direction then is to have public safety.
Public
Look at
safety,
the option,
yeah.
Committee look at the options, yeah, which I totally
I
agree.
will second that,
Yeah.
for sure. And could I roll back then? Maybe we should send this, since it's supporting actually a penal code thing also on the gun safety, maybe we should just send this over to the
Yeah,
public
let's
safety.
modify that and have public
I don't know
safety
what
input.
it is
on it.
you're asking to send. Has that been circulated? I haven't seen that.
I can give you, you want to take a look at, it's brief, and it's got a proposal, although it's just a draft of a proposal of possible, and this came from these other cities, and then it's got the list of the cities that supported it. And there's, here.
Well, rather than wait for me to read this, you're planning on agendizing this to?
Just sending it to.
Yeah, we've already got
Actually, I'd just like to
support.
go ahead and send it straight to the Public Safety Committee, can come back to us
You're
with a
gonna send it to
recommendation.
the public safety?
That's what I'm adding to now. Okay,
All right.
perfect.
I thought you were wanting to approve this right now. but
No,
you're
no,
sending
no,
it to
no.
the committee.
No, no.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, it was always going to be agendized, but instead of bringing it back at city council, we'll have public safety look at it.
Perfect.
Okay, anybody else? All right. Okay, city clerk?
Commissions and committee updates, anyone? Council subcommittee updates? Council members?
I have a question on the commissions and committee updates. The Amphitheater Committee, I understand, is started, and I don't know, I'm just curious what the status is on that. And the reason why I ask is, one of the committee members at a public meeting said that the committee, and I haven't heard it back from anybody, but they said they came to a conclusion that an amphitheater was not a viable option for our town. And I kind of questioned at the time, so we didn't commission you to decide whether it's a viable option, but to look for locations for possible venues. So I'd like to hear back from that committee at some
Bad
point.
Wayne's not here still.
Well, and I talked to Amanda today, actually, and actually heard it from Susie, the chamber person,
Lance, yeah.
is that they're having trouble, not trouble, but it's a challenge to find an open area for an amphitheater. They're actually looking at possible indoor locations. They've looked at the old Krikorian Theater, and so they're thinking about maybe changing the model to an indoor type theater. So I think maybe that's what they were talking about, not that it was impossible, but maybe that they're trying to
Yeah, no,
change the model.
The comment was, the comment was that the amphitheater wasn't in play.
Mayor Pro
Yeah, I just
Tem,
want to make sure all the options are looked at, whether we ever do it or not is a whole nother.
City
whole nother
clerk?
situation.
Mayor Pro Tem Noblock, in answer to your question, the Citizens Amphitheater Committee met Thursday afternoon after our agenda had been published for this meeting. Samantha's actually planning on bringing an update to the September 14th meeting. So next week, you'll have an update.
So we can provide additional direction if they're going the wrong direction, I guess, at
Yeah,
that
I
point.
just wanted to hear back
Yep.
from them, because that was kind of.
You'll have an update at that time.
Good, thank you, city clerk, yeah.
All right, I just have one thing. This next Sunday, there's a fundraising gala for the Pet Project Foundation. I believe all of us are invited to that. So, yeah, the Tales of Forever.
Yeah.
And, well, do you have anything? Okay, are we on to council members?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so, we shouldn't need a reminder, but World Surf League Finals coming, so we have all kinds of activities going on in town. Let's get out there, and maybe we can spread the word about districting when we're milling around these things. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be really a lively conversation. People are looking, but we have Griffin Colapinto, Chris, the local kid who's in it. We have Caroline Marks, I just ran into on Del Mar the other day, who lives here. So this is a great showcase for us. Some great articles written in the Orange County Register. We have the Rhythm and Resin event that's on the 9th, the kickoff with the San Clemente Downtown Business Association on the 8th, and then we don't know when, we don't know which day it'll be, sometime the 8th or to the 16th, but, yeah, I hope it's earlier in the waiting period. But this is a great showcase for how wonderful our city is, and it really exhibits not only our surf tradition, but also that we have the hotbed of surfing right now. We have this young group sort of headed by Chloe Andino and the Colapintos that are bringing up the next crop of women and men surfers, and it's really awesome to see. And so I think coming out in force at these events and also for the competition, we can reinforce that.
One of the concerns, of course, is the breaks out there, the waves were so big that they had to shut down the rails for a short time.
They did.
And, so what do you pray for, bigger waves or?
Just bigger waves on that one day, and then small after that. Yeah, no, it is a concern, because with the big waves, it's eroded, frankly, it's eroded the Trestles Beach too, and at Cotton's Point, so a continuing issue, which I think more sand would help address, so.
Yep.
But for now, we want to make sure we have a great competition, and the town comes together to support Griffin, and Felipe, frankly, and all of our local surfers, and just show that we're just, a great place that loves to surf and get after it. So that'll be exciting, a couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I do have a report today.
Oh,
My firm, Burke, Williams, and Sorensen, is a sponsor of the Casa Gala on Sunday, Tales of Forever, so I will be there along with our Deputy City Attorney. Hope to see you there. And that's all I have. Thank you.
great. And it's wonderful to serve the city, I'm sure, too. City Manager.
Forgot that.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. There were a number of contracts we want to make you aware of. The first one is with Bob Hall and Associates, providing recruitment services in the amount of $15,000. Ventura Directional Drilling for the Linda Lane Pump Station Hydro Auger, $49,421. The 34th Street Consulting provided conflict resolution and team building for $10,000, and that was in our Utilities Department. And Mike Linares providing CDBG administration, $32,000. Underground Solutions for standby generator addition and electrical distribution system upgrade in the amount of $8,117.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll move we adjourn to an adjourned regular council meeting held on September the 14th, 2023. Closed session begins at 5 PM. The regular business session will begin at 6 PM. The meeting will take place here in this council chambers located at 910 Cali Negocio, second floor, San Clemente, California. And we want to note that the regular city council meeting of September 19th was rescheduled to September the 14th.
Do we have a second? Oh, motion is Noblock, second is Leffler, and just, we might as well adjourn in honor of Jimmy Buffett, noted beach guy for our beach community here, whether you're a Parrot Head or not. We lost a good one there, but we still have his music.
A good friend of mine, Governor Bill Richardson.
That's right.
who
That's
also
right, same
passed
day.
away.
Yeah,
No, he's from.
New Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah, tough weekend. Okay, so that we have the motion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope, it's unanimous.